And we're back after the weekend. Hey, hi, hello, friends. How's everyone doing? So I'm trying a new thing vis-a-vis the volume. Sorry, I have difficulty with V's and W's. I had a couple of people tell me in my last stream that the volume was a little bit weird, especially for Amber's video. It was like a little bit out of sync, and that it was giving you guys some like weird echoey feedback stuff. So I'm gonna try and fix it. Sorry, I don't like my necklace being out because then it messes with my mic. I'm gonna try and fix that. I've got my headphones on, so hopefully you won't be able to hear any of the echo back from the video that I'm playing here, and I can just insert the audio from her video directly. So maybe that will fix some of that problem. Let me know if this works better or if it's worse or whatever. With all that said, let's get into it. So the video that I'm reacting to right now is Beezestream. I know at this point it's like 5 days old. You guys know I'm always late with my reacts. I try and be on time as much as I possibly can, but sometimes it's just not possible. It was the weekend, you know, I'm here visiting my family. It was a birthday. It was a whole thing. With all that said, let's get into it. I have gone through her video. I've clipped it down. I've got about 5 minutes and 11 seconds here. I would love to say that I'll be quick, but you guys know me better than that. So let's jump right in.
Once again, there's more poop at the bottom of the stairs.
Oh, I'll clean it.
Okay, you guys know this. I don't have a cat, but my parents have a cat. It's a piece of shit, but it is a cat, and it does have a lot of cat behavior similar to most other cats, I would think. And my understanding is that cats don't actually tend to poop just anywhere. They are very, very like clean creatures for the most part. They'll pee in like random places in the house if they're like stressed and nervous, which my parents' cat does sometimes because it's just, they have the most neurotic, I keep saying they and like with gender neutral pronouns, but the cat is a she. Her name is Milani. But she will pee in random places in the house because she's just a very neurotic creature. But she's never pooped anywhere. She's by far the least friendly, most neurotic cat I've ever seen in my entire life, and she won't poop just anywhere. And the reason for it is because cats don't poop anywhere. They're pretty clean. They'll only poop in their litter box. The only reason they would poop outside of their litter box is if their litter box isn't changed out often enough. For my sister's cat, I think they do it every day or every other day, something like that. They're really like regular about it just because Melanie's a bigger cat and they just want to be sure that she isn't having any issues, and it's just from a hygiene point of view, it's not something they want to deal with. So the fact that her cats have been doing this multiple times says to me that she regularly doesn't clean out the cat litter. Now, it doesn't surprise me that she isn't doing that. If she can't even maintain her own hygiene, it doesn't surprise me that she's unwilling to maintain the hygiene of her cats. And I think she mentions it in this stream as well, but or maybe I don't know if I've left it in or not, but she says that, like, you know, oh yeah, Sam gets dingleberries because his fur is long. Well, you're supposed to actually trim their fur to prevent that sort of stuff from happening, and she doesn't actually do that. She'll wait till the fur gets so matted that she can't do anything about it, and then she'll just trim it off, and she's done that multiple times. So that none of that surprises me. What I will say is that I'm surprised Pete's didn't take care of it. I know his cat, Timbit, tends to live in his room, and I think the litter box for Timbit is also there. So it might not have occurred to him, but I would think that if there's poop on the bottom of the stairs, like, you might want to address that too. And he has had a cat long enough to know how to take care of one. So I figured this is the kind of knowledge he would already have. Not that it's his responsibility. I'm not blaming it. I know he's not doing very well mentally, so I'm not exactly saying that this is his fault. I'm just surprised that he didn't do it, that's all.
Thanks for telling everybody. No, especially since they already think we're neglectful.
Two things here. She's saying it as a joke. She's playing it off like a joke, but she's absolutely not joking. Pete's is not very big on what he should and should not say in company. He strikes me as the kind of person who's like blunt almost to a fault. So I'm not surprised that he just blurted this out even though she was on camera. More importantly, she's erased so many normal boundaries that people have with what should and should not be said on camera that it wouldn't surprise me that Pete's can't keep straight what she would be okay with sharing. And she changes the rules a lot, right? She will often say something and then she'll immediately pull back when there's repercussions for what she said. But there is an issue with the way that she worded it, which is my second point here. She said, especially because they already think that we are neglectful. I don't think Pete is a neglectful cat owner. I've never thought that. I don't know if that's true. She's never given me any evidence to say that he's a neglectful cat owner. But with Chantel, especially recently, there has been talk about her being a neglectful cat owner. There's always been talk about Amber, but Chantel, as historically at least, has always seemed like the more consistent when it came to taking care of her pets. But when the Dom situation got introduced to the mix, she started just abandoning her responsibility to her cats and just basically spending days and days at his place at a time. Not exactly great, right? So I'm surprised that to hear her say, well, they already think we. There's no we. People think you are a neglectful cat owner, especially if BBJ is, or Sam, I forget which one of her cats it is, or maybe there's the same cat. She calls them so many names. I'm actually confused. But her white cat, the fluffy white cat, the beautiful thing, she has so much matted fur on that cat that she just shaves it off, and she's done it regularly. And that's not the hallmark of someone who's regularly grooming their cat the way that it's supposed to be groomed.
Did they give us forks and knives?
I left that in there for a reason. By the way, my sister got me a oat milk brown sugar latte thing from Starbucks. It's really good. So I might be sipping on that if you see me. But the reason that I left that in there is because she started with, did you? And then she said, did they give us a fork and a knife? And I think what she was going to start with, did you bring me a fork and a knife? Because she doesn't care if the restaurant provided it or if Pete's gives it to her, as long as it's provided to her so she doesn't have to leave her room. And the fact that there is such an expectancy on her part of what he should and should not be doing for her speaks to me, A, of very unhealthy codependence, but genuinely also, B, it speaks to me of someone who is used to being served. Like, she needs people to attend to her. She is not capable of taking care of herself, of her own life, even with something as simple as just getting food into her. She needs people to wait on her hand and foot. And that's the only way she feels like she can cope. And that is just such an unhealthy place to be mentally, that you feel like you can't function on your own, to not feel like an independent person. And I think she revels in it. She revels in the fact that she has so many people waiting on hand and foot, not realizing that the reason she has so many people waiting on her hand and foot is because they think she's incapable of life. Like, it's both kind of demented, because in a way she gets to exert this power over people and be like, oh yeah, you know, they look how much they love me, look how much they're willing to do for me. And at the same time, she doesn't seem to realize that a lot of this comes from pity, I would think. Pity and genuinely a lack of respect for her as an adult. Not in general, but definitely for her capabilities as an adult.
Sometimes they get poop stuck. If it's Sam, he gets poop stuck on his fur too. Hold on, I'll show you what I got.
See, that's the part that I was talking about. I'm glad I left that in, because she talks, so she's like, yeah, you know, sometimes Sam gets poop stuck in his fur. Why is he getting poop stuck in his fur? Should you not be trimming and grooming him enough that doesn't happen? I don't understand how that's something that can just occur multiple times. If it happens a couple times and you're a new cat owner, I would understand that. But she's not a new cat owner. She's had this exact cat for many years now. You should know how to take care of this particular cat.
They might be mad at me. I don't know why. Because everyone is.
I left that in there because she said they might be mad at me. I don't know why. I forget who she's saying this in context to. If I remember later, I'll put up a little thing. But she says they're mad at me, and I don't know why. But, you know, everybody is. And she says it with this tone of like, pity me, pity me. Can't you see everybody's just mad at me? And then she rolls her eyes. Like, she has this massive gap in the middle where she can consider her words, think about it, give consideration to why people might be upset with her actions. And the only thing she takes away from it is that, oh, they're being bitches. How dare they be mad at me? Can't they see that I have stuff going on? Everybody has stuff going on. You're not special for having stuff going on in your life. Everybody has shit that they're dealing with.
Will my next place have stairs? I hope not. But, like, should I really base a decision on where to live based on, like, if there's stairs? Doesn't that sound really friggin', like, lazy?
So yes, it is lazy to base her decision on whether or not a place has stairs if she wants to live in it. That said, it might actually be a genuine consideration that she has to take. I think one of the reasons why she is so confined to her room right now is because the idea of having to exert herself going up and down the stairs is something that is physically difficult for her, but also the idea of being that tired and having to do it, the reminder that it gives her of how much limitations her body is placing on her movements is not something that I think she wants to or can deal with right now, right? So when we saw her in her previous apartments, she had a few funks while she was there too, when she was living with BB. That place had no stairs. And she had no problem, even in the midst of her depression, going to different rooms and sitting there and being depressed in those rooms, as it were. Here, she's confined to her room, partly because Pete is not a romantic partner, and therefore she doesn't feel quite as comfortable as with him as she did with BB. But secondarily, and more importantly, I think, it's because she doesn't have the ability to just go up and down those stairs with ease. If she's moving into a new place and she's prone to fits of depression, which I genuinely think she is, but also because she's prone to neglecting her mental and physical health, which bring on those fits of depression much more often, then you might want to consider whether or not the room that you're staying in is going to become your prison. Because that's what's happened here. Because she can't comfortably go up and down the stairs, it's essentially trapped her in her room. And it's a sad thing to consider. I genuinely think it's contributing to her mental decline, right? Being stuck in your room day in, day out can end up feeling like a prison sentence. And because the thing that's limiting her is her own body, until she reckons with it, she can't even leave. That's one of the reasons why it's so hard for her to get out of that funk. At the same time, because her place has stairs, she's getting some mediocre of activity and exercise here. Chantel's not really willing to seek it out. She's stopped going on her walks. She doesn't go to the gym. She doesn't even exert herself any more than she has to. She isn't even like standing and cooking anymore. She's just ordering food out all the time. So when you look at her and you see the fact that, okay, well, if she wants to eat, she's going to have to go down the stairs at some point, right? Like, especially if Pete isn't around to help her, maybe that will encourage her to do some exercise. And I don't know how much that's encouraging her, but I worry that if she went to a place where she didn't have to do that, she might become even more sedentary by choice and then become immobile as a result of it.
Ashley?
By the way, she lies down. She eats and then she lies down, and then in the stream she goes back and forth a lot. She'll get up, she'll go eat some more, then she'll lie down again. She'll go eat some more, and then she'll lie down again. And she says at some point in the stream, she's like, I'm not even all that hungry. Ma'am, you're eating every 25 to 30 minutes right now to finish the entire meal. If you weren't hungry, why did you do that? Either you are hungry and you're deluding yourself, or you aren't hungry and you're force feeding yourself. Either way, that doesn't speak well of your mental health.
I'm mentally sick. I'm just dealing with some things here.
The thing is, I understand that. Being mentally sick is a difficult place to be. Having mental health care concerns aren't easy, and managing them is not always easy. But she is in the very fortunate position where she has like a world of resources at her disposal. Choosing not to help yourself doesn't mean that you can then claim victim status. Like, I know that that's a really harsh way of putting it, but there are people out there who do all of the right things. They talk to their friends and family. They seek out professional help. They have a therapist. They get medication, like Pete is doing, for example. And they still go through bouts of mental health crises. When you are in Chantal's position and you are actively choosing not to do anything that could potentially help you, and you're keeping information from your doctor, and you're doing drugs that you're claiming are medicinal without any kind of proper supervision, you actively put yourself in situations that are going to be harmful for you, and then you claim, I'm having mental health care concerns. Well, no duh. No duh you're having those problems. But you cannot ask me to care more about the situation than you seem to. You either care about the situation or are actively going to work towards changing it and bettering your life, or you don't care about this situation and you're not going to do either of those things. But I should not be required to care more about your mental health than you seem to care about your mental health.
Take one, Joe. Just love your friggin' body, okay? No matter what it looks like. Remember, You as a person are not your body.
All right. I know that this is not the entire context. She says something else after, but I genuinely think she means this. She thinks that her fat body and who Chantel is on the inside are two very different things. She's disconnected the two entirely. I said this before. You are not just your body. You and your body are like one thing, right? You are not just a person, like you're not just a brain riding around in a meat suit. I've said this several times before. The way that you treat your body will actively have impact on the way that you perceive yourself, on your mental health, on the brain chemistry that you have. So when she says that you are not your body, you know, and then she retracts it a little bit. She says, well, not entirely. No, you are your body. You are your body and your body is you. You are your brain and your brain is you. You know, who you are as a person is greater than the sum of its parts. You're not just, I don't know, electric flesh in a meat suit. You know what I mean? Like, it's much more than that. You are a full human person. Treating your body the way it needs to be treated helps you realize that and actively live the kind of life that you want to live. When you're here, when you're doing this, you're like handicapping yourself, essentially. And I mean that in the very strictest sense of the term. You are putting yourself in a position, Chantel, I shouldn't say you. Chantel is putting herself in a position where she's actively made herself disabled through her own choices. Right now, I don't think she could perform most jobs. Like, do you think she could be a bagger at a grocery store? Of course not. Because she cannot stand for that long. And she's put herself in this place. And it's not to say that the eating is what's put her here. Absolutely, the eating contributes to it. But the eating is a symptom of something greater. Being unwilling to confront anything about yourself, being blinded to the truth of your own situation doesn't mean that you get a free pass in life. It's not an excuse. I'm sorry that it happened to you, but if you're choosing to wallow in it now when you have the ability to change things, then that's on you.
Only. I like BBWs. Seriously.
I should have sped this up.
I would have no trouble dating a BBW woman. Or man.
Okay. She says this, but given how judgmental she's been of other people's body shapes, their mental health concerns, just made fun of the way that they look, that's absolutely not true. Chantal thinks that she shouldn't be judged by the standards that she judges people because she is better than them, because she has more to offer. She's a special, unique flower. You know, there's nobody quite like her out there. I genuinely 100% believe, I don't know if she falls anywhere in the narcissism spectrum, I don't know that, but I 100% think that she is the kind of person who suffers from like main character syndrome, where she thinks that she's the main character of life, not just her life, but of everyone's lives. That she is the person that everybody thinks about all of the time. They give due consideration, both to her detriment and, to her benefit. She thinks that she is a lot more important both to other people in her life than she is, but also that, people think about her all the time and they're probably judging her all of the time. Neither one of those two things are true. That's why she has such a hard time thinking about the fact that I can talk about her and then I can turn the camera off and literally not give two shits about what she's doing for the entire weekend, which is what I did. I turned my camera off. I went to a few events. I celebrated a birthday and I had a great time. And then today I woke up and I was like, you know what? I have time today. I can talk about Chantal today. But she doesn't occupy my mind. She doesn't occupy the minds of most people when they're not on camera, when they're not watching something on YouTube. And that's something that she can't relate to. It's something that she can't consider. And I genuinely think it's the same thing for Gabby Hanna, who also thinks that she is the main character of Lyfe, the way that she treats people around her. They display very similar characteristics. The only difference is that because Chantal is fat, she's also very, very self-conscious. And because Gabby Hanna is thin, she's very, very narcissistic. Not that she has high self-esteem, just that she's narcissistic.
Although I did say BBW man.
Please do acknowledge that.
That's not true.
Okay, so why should this be true then? If you lied before, what is to stop you from lying now? That's the thing, when you just say, well, that's not true. Well, why did you lie before then? Why are you lying? Why did you lie then and why are you telling the truth now? And, how do I know that this isn't the lie and that was the truth?
If you like somebody, I need to snap out of this funk. I just can't.
Yes, when you like somebody, you should just like somebody. But I've said this before. I can like somebody and still not want to be with them because I can look at them and think the lifestyle you are leading is toxic and unhealthy, and the only thing it will do is pull me down as well. That is not an unfair way to think.
I'm in a beauty funk. No, seriously.
I feel for her. I do, because it's easy to get stuck in your own head and become sad and depressed. That happened to me during the pandemic. I'm a very social person. I love talking to people, and the fact that I couldn't do that, the fact that I was cut off from my friends and from my family for such a long period of time, it took a massive toll on my mental health. That said, that doesn't mean that I got to self-isolate and then blame the world around me, or blame my mental illness, or blame my mental health. You know, I realized that I was going down a wrong path, and I took steps to amending it. I started talking to my therapist more often. I started hanging out with friends virtually. I, suggested we could do like those Bob Ross paint nights and stuff like that. Very fun. We just followed YouTube tutorials, not actual Bob Ross, but you get my drift. I found ways to cope with it. Healthy ways of coping with it, not being so stoned out of my mind that I couldn't think straight. So I understand that you're in a funk, and I understand how hard it can be, but when you are actively choosing not to help yourself, how do you expect me to feel bad for you? Obviously, it can't be that bad if you're just willing to suffer through it.
I don't want to face the world.
Tell us something we don't know. This stream has a lot of really long, just like prolonged cuts, and I'm sorry, I should have cut a lot more of it out, but Chantel's a lot sometimes. When it comes to not wanting to face the world, yeah, we know that. We know that by the fact that you aren't facing the world. We know that by the fact that you're actively hiding away from everybody. We know that by the fact that you can't seem to get through one day without being stoned on something. So, yes, but why? Why can't you face the world? Why aren't you unwilling to look at it and take it on head on? Maybe you should consider that. Maybe you should do some internal self-examination.
I think I have some haters. I have some people who really hate me.
Yeah, you do.
I just had this fun.
She does have some people that really hate her, but once more, if you have turned the vast majority of people around you against you, maybe you should consider what part of it is that's your fault, right? Because I didn't start watching Chantel thinking that I was going to hate her. I started watching Chantel because I was curious. And the longer I watched her, the more I disliked her. There's a reason for that. She has had patterns of behavior that make me dislike her as a person. Once more, I don't think that hate is the appropriate term here. I think hate's a very strong word. I think most people don't really deserve to be hated, even if they're doing something that I find personally deplorable, right? Hate's a very draining emotion for me personally. I can't speak for everyone, but for me, it's draining. It takes active work for me to hate people. So I don't tend to hate a lot of people. I'll hate people at occasions, like when they say or do something particularly egregious, I'll be like, I cannot believe they said that. I hate them so much for it. But I don't hate them overall. I dislike her a lot. But the fact that there are so many people out there with a sustained amount of dislike and hatred towards her should show her that she has patterns of behavior that tick people off. Some of it can just be something as simple as existing, which I'm sure there's people out there who hate her just for being fat. But there are a good group of people out there who hate you for much deeper reasons than that. And by labeling everybody as a hater, by labeling everybody who dislikes you as just someone who hates you to hate you, you are dismissing active criticism that you could benefit from. And that's what you said you wanted, right? You wanted constructive criticism. And criticism is only as constructive as you choose to make it. You look at criticism, you listen to what people are saying, and you think, okay, what can I take away from it? And that's how you proceed forward with life.
Not own you and make you change.
I hate that. It is an ownership to ask somebody to change for the better. Expecting people to be better, expecting people to change their behavior for the better doesn't imply that you think you own them. It means that you love them enough to want what's best for them. And you're right, a lot of times the idea of what's best for someone varies from person to person and, their own internal life view on things. But that doesn't mean that if 50 people are telling you that, hey, maybe you should lose weight and stop doing massive amounts of drugs every day, then they're all like coming from a biased perspective. They might be, but the fact that there's that many people saying that to you might mean that there's a kernel of truth to it, right?
I'm just constantly...
The other reason that I left that in there was so that you guys can see. This is what I mean when I say that her chat is active in her enabling. They're giving her excuses as to why she doesn't need to change. And they do this a lot, where she'll say something, you know, and she knows that she's doing something wrong, but they'll give her an excuse for it. It's like a random excuse generator. It's awful. No, if someone loves you and they want you to get better, you shouldn't be, if you want them to get better, don't be providing them with excuses as to why they can remain the way that they are. Remaining the way that Chantel is what's actively killing her. Y'all need to stop. Just full stop. I'm not saying be mean to her. If you don't like the way that I delivered the information, then you don't have to do it my way. But that doesn't mean you should kiss her ass. It doesn't mean that you should excuse her bad behavior. It doesn't mean you should sit there and be like, well, they shouldn't ask you to change. If someone is doing drugs, yeah, you should ask them to change. If someone is actively ruining their lives and trying to slowly kill themselves in inches on camera for the world to watch, yeah, you should ask them to change their lives. That's ridiculous.
On edibles in my room, watching comfort viewing, comfort eating.
Yes.
Yes.
So see, she says that. She recognizes her actions, but there's no like further thought or evaluation for it. Yes, you are in your room. Yes, you are comfort eating. Why? Why are you doing that? The why of it is the most important part. Because without the why, everything else is irrelevant. Why are you sitting there in your room, not willing to engage with the world? Why do you eat so much that you feel sick? Why? And you look, I'm not saying everyone needs to have perfect self-clarity, okay? Like, I am a very oblivious person. It's hard for me to have insight into my own actions. That's why I talk to a professional, someone who can help me with that. And she has the availability of that, right? Like, my insurance, I'm not going to say is the greatest, but they provide me with something, and I make the most use of it that I possibly can. Choosing not to avail yourself to the services that are offered because they're not absolutely perfect means that you're not gonna ever progress forward. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Talk to a therapist. Talk to multiple therapists. See if you can find one that you like better, right? But keep trying. Just trying once and giving up because there was one person that you liked that one time you spoke to them for 30 minutes 8 years ago and they're no longer available. So, oops, can't do therapy, I guess, is idiotic. And everyone sees through it. It's transparent.
I think Joe, yes, please don't bring up Mike. I think Joe comes from, I think he means well.
If you guys don't know what she's referring to, Joe makes this comment about Mike, one of her mods who died a while ago due to a drug overdose. And he says something along the lines of, well, you'll know what happened, you know, if you keep doing the powder or something along those lines. And I think it was extremely disrespectful. I think they just need to not discuss Mike on this channel. When you're talking to someone who's actively in the midst of addiction and you're using another person's death to make them understand, that's not kind, especially when there might be other people in Joe's life who watch the same content that he does. I don't think that's appropriate. It's one thing to say this many people die a year from addiction, and it's another thing to say, hey, this person died, I'm going to put it on a channel like this where it's going to be monetized. Because if it was just in the privacy of your own home, in a friends group on WhatsApp, it would be one thing, but it's not. You're putting it on YouTube where she's making money off of it, where she's often belligerent, where she once talked about having a Beezestream in honor of Mike's death. A Beezestream, by the way, where she would probably have been high. I don't think it's appropriate at all for his name to be brought up in this context. And you're only going to cause pain to those who knew him by doing so.
I understand. I just can't handle drama right now.
You can't handle anything right now. Drama is just one of the things. To be fair, she's not wrong. She can't handle drama because she can't handle criticism. She never has been, and I don't know if she ever will be able to do so.
I'm not going back. I mean, it's true. If I went back to it, that could be my last.
Yeah. They're not wrong. Relapses can often result in overdoses too. And she starts with, I'm not going back, and then she stops because she doesn't want to put that out there. She wants the plausible deniability of if it ever happens, which I think a lot of people are saying that it already has, right? And I personally also believe that she's still continued to do drugs. Maybe not at the same rate as she was doing before, but definitely still doing them. She thought she could get away with it even after she confessed. She thought, well, Chantel confesses because she thinks that just doing that is enough to get her to change her own actions, that somehow it will force her into being a different person. But more importantly, I think she confessed because she wanted all those ass pats and kudos, and she didn't think people would hold on to it as hard as they have. But the way that she's talking right now, yeah, you will die. But the thing is that death isn't something that she actively thinks about too much. The further she is away from a medical crisis, the less she thinks about how it could impact her life and how she could potentially die. And therefore, it takes all the power out of it, right? She doesn't think of death as something that could happen in a couple of days. It's something that she thinks will happen many, many years from now. And as long as that isn't close to her, as long as the emergency, that the medical emergency that might lead her to be clean is still further away from her, she's perfectly fine ignoring it. I don't think she's going to change unless something makes her change.
I'm not going to. Trip with Shannon. We are gonna leave it for now to when I can actually leave my room.
Okay. She's saying we are going to leave it for now until I can finally leave my room. So what you're saying is that I am unwilling to go with her, and so we're not doing the trip. But she wants to diffuse the responsibility of why this trip is not happening equally onto herself and Shannon. And that's why she's saying, she's like, we have decided to leave it for now. I don't think so. I think you said, I'm not coming, and Shannon's like, well, fuck, I guess so, right? Because they can't do a trip together if she's unwilling to participate, right?
No.
And we already know she can leave her room anytime she wants when she wants to go see Dom. But apparently going to meet a friend is too much.
And then, which I have to work on.
More?
Gotta put in some really hard work the next little while.
Alright, this video is now 5 days old. I want you guys to go back and take a look at her video content, and I want you to pinpoint to me and tell me one instance in which she's worked hard. Chantal is very good at devising a plan of how to do better, of saying all of the right things. But as always, she hopes that if she puts the energy out into the universe, somehow it will make her a different person. Somehow it will force her to be a different person. That it will light a spark in her, that it will create a sense of urgency to be different. The thing is, most of the time when you want to change something about your life, it's not in those big urgent steps. You don't feel like all of a sudden this well of deep emotional need to be different. Sometimes it's just deciding one day to wake up and being like, I'm going to be a little bit better today. That's all you have to do. I'm sorry, but if you're waiting for that well of courage, it might not ever happen. Just take small, tiny steps. The same way you eat an elephant is how you would do this. Small bites, little bites.
Hard work. Fresh ingredients. You don't know what I've just been through the past weekend, so can it? Thank you.
I couldn't find Fresh Ingredients comment, so if someone knows what Fresh Ingredients said to piss Chantal off this much, I would appreciate it. As far as us not knowing what you've been through, you tease stuff like this all the time. So for all I know, this is another hearkening back to the fact that she talked about abuse on her channel just a little while ago, saying, well, have any of you been abused? And it feels to me like she's laying down the groundwork for eventually saying that, oh, I was abused, and that's why I found it so hard to get out of the drug habit. I'm sure it happens to people. I'm sure of it. That doesn't mean that it's happening to Chantal. And like I said in my other video, I hate the fact that she's put me in this position where I'm looking at someone and doubting whether or not if they ever say that they've been abused, whether or not it's a legitimate story. Because Chantal's not above using something horrible to essentially make herself look better. We've seen it before, right? She's essentially tried to guilt her mom by threatening to commit suicide. So when a person is willing to do something like that to someone that they're supposed to love, how can I know that she won't be that way, with us? Because to her, we're not even real. We're not even real human beings.
Shannon doesn't need to go to Montreal.
Nobody needs to go to Montreal. Nobody needs to do anything. She doesn't need to be your friend. She wanted to go to Montreal with you. That's the thing about friendships. Friendships aren't needed. I don't need to have friends. My mom, I have because I needed a mom, right? I was born into this world, and therefore a mom is kind of the person that was created, right? She was a person, then she became a mom. That's what I mean by it. But, you know, but my friends are people who chose me and I chose them. So Shannon is someone who chooses to spend time with you actively, someone who doesn't have any familial obligation to you. Here she is prioritizing wanting to go with you. And the fact that you seem to think that that is worth less than just something as simple as needing to go, are you kidding? If my friend was going somewhere, say they were going, I don't know, to Tahiti, and they're like, hey, I have to go there for a business trip, you know, and I know you're already going there for vacation, so we can hang out together, right? That would mean less to me than if a friend was like, hey, I want to go on a trip with you to Tahiti. Let's plan this out. Because then I'm their first priority. I'm the number one reason why they're going. And that's what your friend did. She prioritized you. Despite the fact that she has a regular job, she has a regular life, she prioritized you and she wanted to go with you. And you canceled on her. And now here you are minimizing that in front of your audience. When she doesn't have that kind of platform. So we have no idea whether or not she's happy with this decision. We have no idea whether or not this was something that Chantel legitimately discussed it with her. Because if she can come online and she can disclose her drug habit to her friends and family via YouTube, she can just as easily have not told Shannon anything about this and is just now putting it out onto YouTube for Shannon to learn here. It's like the fucking Donald Trump firing people via tweets thing. That's not how you treat people in real life.
She wanted to go to Montreal. So can it?
You can it. You and your fucking stupid arguments. God.
No, I don't want that responsibility. Thank you.
She's talking about owning a home here. And she doesn't want the responsibility of having a home. That is really, really stupid because having a home is a very solid purchase and it's one of the things you do when you want to build equity for yourself going forward in the future. I don't know if the way that she's living her life right now is ever going to result in Chantel reaching the age of 65, 70 and beyond, quite frankly. But if she ever does, she's going to need a lot of medical intervention. And while Canada's healthcare system is great, given the fact that she's neglected her own health for so long, they might not be able to prioritize her in everything. I know people who are in Canada who, if they have the money, will come to the US and they will pay out of pocket to get prioritized medical treatment. I still think that the system is gross and they shouldn't be able to do that, but whatever, bleeding heart liberal and all that. So when Chantel is sitting here saying, well, I don't want that kind of responsibility. Understand that what you're also not getting is any of that equity that you can pull back out of that house when you need it going forward in life, which if she gets to 70 or 80, the abuse she's put her body through will require her to have. She's going to need extra money. She's going to need things that other people don't need, even if it's just really expensive medications. Okay, so that will be it for my video. I think this is actually kind of short. It might even be like 35 minutes. Aren't you guys excited? This is the first video I've done in a while that's been like under an hour, like legitimately under an hour. So I'm kind of excited about that. That's all I had to say for her Beezestream. I know there's more in there, but I try not to hit on too many points repetitively unless I think that they bear repeating or there's something new to add to them. And I don't think there is much. I think the next video that I'll probably put out is going to be her sleep video. Probably will have that up tomorrow. And then Wednesday is going to be last week's Amber videos. And then I don't know what I'm doing Thursday. I aim to have like 3 to 4 videos out a week. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys liked this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you hated this video, you can go ahead and give me a thumbs down. That's totally okay as well. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Hit the notification bell down below and hit all if you want to know when I upload any videos right away. If you guys like this video, let me know down below and leave me a heart emoji. Also, I've got all my social medias linked down below. I've got Instagram, Twitter, and Patreon. Think of Patreon as the tip jar for the internet. So if you like the job that I'm doing here and you would like me to continue, hey, consider tossing a few coins in my direction. You don't have to and it's not necessary, but genuinely anything you give me would be very helpful. And I do use all the funds I get back exclusively towards the channel. I don't actually keep anything for myself. And as always, I'm Jasmine, the sequel, and I am not relatable. Peace. A special thank you to my patrons, Acrophobe, Ariel M, Christina, Courtney EP, Wild Rose, Xanthal, Jam Beans, Colleen L, Debbie Elliott, Just Jude, Kate O, and D Higgins.